Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. We are back. It is Thursday evening, another late night live stream, and we're here once again to talk about the vacant Everton managerial position, because what else is there really to talk about? Well, there is a game of footy to be fair on Saturday, and we will be doing the live game preview to that game tomorrow, so don't forget to join us. That one won't be a late one unfortunately because I've got something going on tomorrow night, so we'll be live around about 4:15, 4:30 tomorrow evening with the game preview to Everton's Premier League fixture against Aston Villa at Goodison Park on Saturday. Duncan Ferguson back in charge of Everton. Try and say that sentence and not say it with a massive smile on your face. I can't wait for that one. Of course, we'll have Duncan Ferguson's pre-game press conference as well tomorrow, which we'll be able to sit down and talk about in the game preview. So that one will be definitely something worth checking out as well. But that's tomorrow. For now, we're going to talk about what we've spoken about for the last however many days, 3, 4, 5 days, I can't keep up, which is the vacant Everton managerial position, obviously. Ever since Rafael Benitez left the football club last Sunday, we knew that we were going to be inundated with various different names, names that Everton may be interested in bringing in to become the new Everton manager. And probably a lot of names that maybe Everton aren't interested in, but are just being thrown out there by the media to get some clicks. And when I first read the latest candidate, I thought that was it. I thought, right, this is just another name being thrown out there in the media that has probably got no substance to it whatsoever, and we don't really have to pay too much attention to it. And then it started to creep up a little bit more, and then reliable journalists such as Jay Bear from The Telegraph, even, The Echo, who have slightly contradicted what Jay Baird had said, but have still sort of gone along the lines of that Everton are certainly interested in this name, and that is Fabio Cannavaro, obviously Italian footballer, very, very good footballer in his day as well, but he's not turning up to Everton to be a footballer, is he? Let's be honest, if this was, 25 years ago, something like that, 20 years ago, and we were talking about Fabio Cannavaro being linked with Everton, we'd all be absolutely over the moon. We'd be, we'd be made up. He was an absolutely fantastic player. I think he won a World Cup, did he not, in 2006 with Italy? He was a wonderful, wonderful player. 2 Coppa Italia titles, 1999 Supercoppa Italia, 1999 UEFA Cup when he was at Parma. So, really, really successful footballer, and certainly one of the one of the greats in world football. But we're not talking about Fabio Cannavaro as a footballer, are we? And as I said, we're not 25 years ago, although certain people on the board might be thinking that we're 25 years ago. We're not, and we're certainly not talking about Fabio Cannavaro coming to Everton to play, in this side, although he'd probably still get in this side, wouldn't he? Let's be perfectly honest. He has been linked with the vacant Everton managerial role, and as I said, this first crept up a couple of days ago, but I didn't really speak about it because it was in, sort of sources that, again, will throw a lot of names out there, and obviously names that aren't necessarily particularly great, and names that aren't necessarily really interested in the Everton link. It's just an easy link, and that's what I thought this one was at first. I thought, yeah, Fabio Cannavaro, no chance of getting him. I had a little bit of a research on his managerial career and where about he is up to with his managerial career, and that isn't looking great, to be fair. Obviously he was a centre back, played at Napoli, Juventus, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Parma. So fantastic player, as I said. He also won a Ballon d'Or in 2006 and is the only defender to win the award in a decade. However, as I've mentioned, despite the fact that he would probably get in our defence at the moment, his managerial career isn't necessarily the best, and for me isn't one that Everton should be looking at, and seriously thinking about going for, in my opinion. Now let's talk about where this rumour originated from. So again, as I said, we like to do this so you don't just think I'm sitting here and rattling names off the top of my head. for the sake of it. It first come from, as I said, it was rumoured a couple of days ago, but, again, it was in sort of, newspapers and stuff that, thrown a lot of names out there, but it first seriously propped up when Jay Bear from The Telegraph, at around about 10 to 4 today, said that Fabio Cannavaro has been interviewed for the vacant Everton manager's job and is understood to have impressed in an initial interview this week. Now, he also went on to say Frank Lampard and Wayne Rooney are also to be interviewed for the role. It is unclear if the shortlist will go beyond Cannavaro, Lampard and Rooney, or whether they will only be the three spoken to. Sources suggest it may be down to a choice between the three. The Liverpool Echo then come out a little bit later on in the night and said that Everton are not currently considering Fabio Cannavaro as a potential candidate for the Everton manager's position, despite the Italian having preliminary talks. So that would completely contradict the report from Jay Bear from The Telegraph. Jay Bear from The Telegraph said that he's interviewed, and not only did he interviewed well. And the Echo were coming out and saying that Everton aren't considering him, despite having preliminary talks with him for the role. Now, Jay Bear did come out in response to the article in the Liverpool Echo, saying that conflicting claims as to how Fabio Cannavaro fared in his talks with Everton. I am told that not only did he interview well and speaks good English, but the shortlist may be down to him, Wayne Rooney or Frank Lampard. More on Telegraph Football. So, again, conflicting reports there. The Liverpool Echo coming out and saying one thing, and the Telegraph and Jay Bear coming out and saying something completely different. But one thing's for sure is, I don't think Fabio Cannavaro is the man. Don't get me wrong, I'm not surprised to see Fabio Cannavaro being linked with a move to Everton because he's a massive name in football. And we all know that, pardon me, we all know that Farhad Moshiri loves to sit round the table with his billionaire friends and show off about how big of a name the Everton manager is, despite the fact that the last big name Everton manager failed and was sacked after 6 months. The one before that got off. The one before that in Ronald Koeman wasn't very good either. And, as I said, just because a footballer was an unbelievably world-class footballer doesn't necessarily mean they will be an unbelievably world-class manager. Ronald Koeman's case is clear for that. Very rarely do you get a player who was absolutely world-class and then, goes into management and is an absolute world-class manager. In fact, the only one that really jumps to me at the minute off the top of my head, I'm not saying that he's the only one, but is Carlo Ancelotti, which is sad because we had Carlo Ancelotti, didn't we? But anyway, that is certainly in the past. We'll move on from that. In terms of Cannavaro's managerial career, it doesn't look particularly, it doesn't look particularly pleasing, does it? Never managed in Europe before, albeit obviously being Italian and speaking really good English according to Jay Bird. He's managed Al Ahi, who are in Dubai. He was the assistant there. He managed Guangzhou in China for a year. He managed Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia for a year. He managed Tianjin Quanzhan in China for a year. He then managed Guangzhou again for 4 years, which is his longest term in management. And then he managed the Chinese national team. So, in terms of clubs managed and teams managed and experience of managing in not only, this country, but in Europe as a whole, he has got absolutely no experience whatsoever. And I was actually looking at transfer market for Fabio Cannavaro and having a little look at some of his stats and stuff, and it was interesting because transfer market, the website, has got a tab which actually says average time spent in a job, effectively. So average time spent in one job, and Fabio Cannavaro's average time is 1.25 years, so 1.25 years effectively in a job, which suggests that he isn't particularly consistent, and suggests that those teams who, let's be honest, aren't Premier League level sides are, we're unhappy with his management and decided to move him on after, not a long time, other than, as we said before, the second term in Guangzhou. I've probably butchered that pronunciation, I do apologise. But other than that second spell, every other managerial job was a year. And one thing I would really say about Fabio Cannavaro is that he would be an absolute monumental risk. at the moment, considering he's never managed in Europe, considering he's never managed the side that are this close to a relegation battle, or certainly at this level in football. He doesn't know any of the Everton players. It would be a complete restart. Is Fabio Cannavaro the type of manager to come in on an interim basis and to guarantee that Everton stay in the Premier League, this season? I don't think he is. I wouldn't. I honestly, and the reason I'm talking about an interim basis is because apparently, pardon me, that's what Everton are looking for. Apparently, Everton are looking for an interim until the summer and then reassess it then. Well, if that's the case, then what would be the point in bringing Fabio Cannavaro in? He's not going to want to come over here until the summer to then be told he's sacked. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, pardon me, my throat's a little bit sore. Everton simply aren't in a position to be taking these types of risks. We seriously aren't. And I fear that Farhad Moshiri is looking at Fabio Cannavaro, looking at his playing career, and looking at the name that is Fabio Cannavaro, because he is a massive name in football, of course he is. He's a World Cup winner, world-class footballer in his day, and thinking, right, he's a manager now, so that must automatically mean that he's the best man out there. Well, not really, as I've said. Just because you were a great footballer doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great manager. Many unbelievable footballers have gone on to be managers and not been successful, and many players that were bang average and not very good have gone on to be really successful managers, because that's how life works. You're not always great at both. And I'm not suggesting that Fabio Cannavaro isn't a good manager. I'm just suggesting that given he's been a manager now since he left his assistant role in 2015, that's 7 years now, he hasn't managed the side in Europe. No team in Europe. Think of how many sides that in and around Everton's level in Europe that since that period have sacked managers and been in the search for a new manager, and nobody seems to have been interested by Fabio Cannavaro, who is a massive name in football, but there's obviously reasons for that. And some would say, yeah, Campbell, for him to get experience in Europe, somebody's got to give him a chance, and that's fine. And I hope that Fabio Cannavaro does get every chance to manage in Europe and prove that he is a good enough manager to do so. But Everton aren't that team to give out chances at the moment. Everton need guarantees. And if you're looking at Fabio Cannavaro, for me, you're not looking at him because of his experience in management. Because again, okay, he's had whatever, 6-7 years experience in management, but he's had that insides that are, let's be honest, nowhere near the level of the Premier League, and in countries in which football is nowhere near the level generally. It's not like he's managed some lower league teams in Germany or Italy. No disrespect to the Chinese league, but that's not, on the same stratosphere as what the Premier League is. So in terms of managing this situation with this squad of players, I would say somebody like Duncan Ferguson is more experienced than Fabio Cannavaro. And this argument is, it's almost like a null argument, isn't it? Because people say it's almost like any manager with at least a tiny bit of experience being the sole manager of a football team is more experienced than Duncan Ferguson. It's like saying Gary Neville is more experienced than Duncan Ferguson because he managed Valencia unsuccessfully for whatever it was, 2-3 months. But is he? Because Gary Neville went into management. He was a coach for a while, to be fair, but Gary Neville went into management, failed, and then left it and has now been a pundit for the last 10 years or whatever it's been, 8 years. Duncan Ferguson has been a high level, the highest level you can get, Premier League coach for the last 10 years. Has worked under the likes of Carlo Ancelotti, who wanted him at Real Madrid when he left the football club. Why would Carlo Ancelotti want him if he wasn't good enough? Rafa Benitez, Sam Allardyce has spoken highly of him. Ronald Koeman worked under a plethora of managers. And more importantly, worked with this squad, knows what this squad is capable of and what it isn't capable of. Dunk done an interview with EvertonFC.com today, and one of the things he said was, I went in and gave them some home truths. He said, I know the previous results in games are in the past, but I went in and basically said, this isn't good enough, and this is what we need to show. He was asked what you'd expect from an Everton player, what's the bare minimum an Everton player should expect, and he said, go out and fight for that badge, fight for the club, give everything, leave everything on the pitch. He said, imagine what one of them fans would do if they would, put the top on and went on to Goodison Park. That's what you've got to give. that to me is the type of camaraderie and the type of, words and desire and commitment that we need at this time. We don't need a risk on Fabio Cannavaro. If we were fighting for the top 4, top 6, and we were in need of a new manager, and Cannavaro's name come up, you'd go, well, okay, massive risk, but if it doesn't go right, then we're in a safe enough position to just say, it hasn't gone right, we'll move you on, and we'll go for someone else. If it does go right, then Cannavaro could be the next big thing, and we don't know, he might be the best manager ever to have lived. We don't know that, because he's managed in leagues where, where we haven't been able to see that. His track record and his the fact that his average time in a managerial job is 1.25 years would suggest that he's not that great. And Everton simply can't take the risk on that. What if, I've said this before and I'll say it again, this is the biggest decision that Farhad Moshiri will ever make as owner of Everton Football Club. If he gets this wrong, it will be too late to change it. Because if he gets it wrong, you're going to need, at least 2 months before he's going to sack the next manager if it goes wrong, because he's going to want to see how it can, whether the manager can settle in, and the manager would maybe say, whoever the manager may be, and maybe say, well, I haven't had enough time with the squad, or I haven't had enough time to implement my style, this, that, and the other. So it's going to be 2 months before a serious decision is even made, if it gets to that anyway. Let's hope it doesn't. So then that's another 2 months down the line. You're then looking at March. The season ends in May. Other teams may have picked up points in that. We could be, as I said, at that point where there's no way back before you're bringing in, i.e. West Brom a couple of years, last year was it, a couple of years ago, when they ended up bringing in Sam Allardyce, but they were too far gone. He couldn't save them because of the fact that when he come in, the damage was already done. And I fear that if Farhad Moshiri gets this wrong, then that could be the way Everton are going as well. And Fabio Cannavaro, for me, for as good of a footballer he was, and again, he might be the soundest fella in the world, because we all know that makes a massive difference to Everton Football Club. You've got to be dead sound. But his lack of managerial experience in Europe and in the Premier League as well, and knowing this group of players, and knowing the fact that this group of players are very susceptible to turning around one day and going, we don't really want to work for you anymore. I'm not too sure this is a risk we're taking. And some would say, but he wouldn't do that to Cannavaro, because he's a World Cup winner, that he'd demand that respect. And I agree, he would. I agree. And then maybe there would be a bounce. But footballers in this day and age aren't asked what you've won. A lot of players last season, down tools under Carlo Ancelotti, and he is one of the most successful managers of all time. And they weren't that arsed, were they? Ronald Koeman had won all sorts. They weren't that arsed. Rafa Benitez was a Champions League winner. They weren't that arsed. So, I might be sitting here saying in 18, 19 months' time, look at Cannavaro, he's at Nice, or he's at Napoli, or he's at Juventus, or he's at, Tottenham, or he's somewhere else, and he's doing an amazing job if only we'd have gone for him. And that's hindsight, and that's wonderful. And as I said, I wouldn't, Cannavaro was an interesting one, and a name that I'm not 150% against if we were in a safer position, because obviously of how good of a player he was, the experience he'll have gotten from that. But the situation we're in at the moment, we can't be taking risks like this. We simply can't. We just can't. As I said, he's been a manager for 7 years now, and he's managed in Dubai and China, which aren't the greatest leagues in the world, with all due respect. Considering he's Fabio Cannavaro, we're not talking about, we're not talking about an up-and-coming manager from China, or an up-and-coming manager from, from Dubai who's managed locally, and you're thinking, well, okay, maybe he's only managed there because they're the only chances he's got, and he's not being given a chance elsewhere. We're talking about Fabio Cannavaro. He's one of the most renowned footballers on the planet ever to have played the game. There will have been teams who were in need of managers over the last 5-6 years who will have looked at Fabio Cannavaro and gone, well, it's Fabio Cannavaro, he was world class, he's a World Cup winner. And then decided, do you know what, maybe this isn't right for whatever reason. And that's what Everton have got to do. Everton have got to start doing some due diligence. And that's why that's why I'm saying give it to Dunk. Not just because I love Dunk, not just because I want him to be the manager of Everton and I think he's the right man, but if you give it to Dunk on an interim basis till the end of the season, it gives you 4 or 5 months. And Dunk would keep us up, by the way. I firmly believe Dunk would, because if anything, put the tactics aside, put the players aside, put everything aside, if anything, Dunk would have Goodison Park bouncing every single time we played there, and we've got enough games at Goodison left between now and the end of the season to, if we win them all, and a lot of winnable games at Goodison as well, then, you know, we'll be safe. In fact, I think we only need to win 5 or 6 games and we'll be okay. And I think we'll comfortably win 5 or 6 games with Duncan Ferguson in charge. And that's assuming that tactically he's not great. And I actually think tactically he'll surprise a lot of people. I think he's better than people give him credit for, as shown in the 4 games he managed in 2019. But if the club did that and showed a little bit of a plan, a little bit of a process, a little bit of planning, a little bit of looking ahead, a little bit of looking further down the line than just what's in front of us, then I think, you know what, that's sensible. What's the rush? You know what, again, do some due diligence, do some homework, give it to Duncan till the end of the season, and go and look at Fabio Cannavaro for 3-4 months. You know, go and watch what his managerial style is like, why he was sacked after a year at 4 of the clubs he's managed, or 5 of the clubs he's managed, whatever it is. Then you go and look at Graham Potter. How possible is it to get Graham Potter in the summer? An awful lot more possible than it is to get him now, and especially if he managed to pull off Dan Ashworth, which would be a fantastic appointment for the football club, as I said, if he's allowed to do his job. And Graham Potter would be much more interested in the Everton project if Dan Ashworth moves here as well. Then you can look at other managers, and in the summer, you can make a decision based on 4 or 5 months of looking at managers, not just thinking, fucking hell, who was a dead successful player who's now a manager. It seems like Moshiri's just gone onto Google and gone, really successful footballers who turn to management, and he's gone, Carlo Ancelotti, can't get him. Ronald Koeman, don't want him, he failed. Frank Lampard, okay, yeah. Wayne Rooney, okay, yeah. Fabio Cannavaro, okay, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'd take Wayne Rooney, and I would be satisfied with Frank Lampard. I don't really want Frank Lampard, but I'd be satisfied with him. Fabio Cannavaro, if the club just done literally 15 minutes worth, I didn't know. 4 hours ago, before this link was really put out there, I didn't know who Fabio Cannavaro had managed. I didn't know where Fabio Cannavaro's managerial career had taken him. I knew how good of a footballer he was, of course I did. I knew how successful he was, of course I did. It took me literally 33.2 seconds to log on to Google, search Fabio Cannavaro, look at a couple of things that people have read about him, the teams he's managed, and his average time lasting in a job, for me to go, too big of a risk for Everton now. It doesn't even take a genius, bloody scout, or a genius director of football to be able to look at Cannavaro at this time at the football club and go, no, we're in too dangerous of a situation for that to make that decision. The summer, as I said, you look a bit deeper into him. Maybe we're stable. You think maybe he can implement something. Again, the fact that he's managed in really poor leagues and hasn't lasted more than 2 years in the majority of his jobs is an indication that he probably isn't that great. But to give him his due, you don't know. But we aren't in that position at the moment to go, we'll take a risk. We can't take a risk. And people would say Dunk's a risk. But Dunk for me is, when you look at the managers that Everton are being linked with at the moment, and you look at the managers that Everton are either rumoured to be talking to or interviewing or whatever, Dunk is the least risk out of all of them. Even Rooney is a massive risk because he doesn't know this squad. He doesn't know these players. He's doing a fantastic job at Derby, in the most craziest circumstances. But in a way, and I'm not trying to downplay the job he's doing at Derby because it's amazing, but in a way, it's a very underdog sort of situation at Derby. They were given no hope, and Wayne Rooney's giving them all of the hope and doing fantastic against all odds. His job in Derby was at Derby this season when he had 9 senior players to start the season with, and they were deducted 26 points or whatever it was. His job was just, do what you can effectively and try and win us games. And because of that low expectation, because of what went on, maybe that some Derby fans would say, no, we had a high expectation, he needed to keep us up. But I think it was more just sort of, well, yeah, we're probably done here. And because of that, it's been like, no, we're not done. We'll fight for it. And fair play to Wayne Rooney. He's doing a fantastic job, and fair play to Derby as well in ridiculous circumstances. Would he be able to come into Everton given a relegation battle and do the same, given that the expectation is that we stay up? That pressure is on him. And again, I think he would. And I would have Wayne Rooney, but in that situation, I think it's less of a risk than Duncan Ferguson. Frank Lampard doesn't know the club, doesn't know the players. Again, no experience of being in a Premier League relegation battle. Is he more of a risk than Duncan Ferguson? I think he is. And all of the other names, Cannavaro, Martinez, they're just stupid. Martinez screams Kenwright, as we've already mentioned. Cannavaro, Jose Mourinho, who we spoke about yesterday, they scream Farhad Moshiri. And Farhad Moshiri hasn't gone and looked at and gone, who's the best manager to keep Everton up? Who's the manager I can look at and I know he will keep us in the Premier League? He's literally, I think, gone on a website or an Excel document or a Google and gone, who was a really successful footballer who's now a manager? And he's got 4 names up, or 3 names up, Rooney, Lampard and Cannavaro. And actually, ironically, 2 of them wouldn't be the worst in the world, but Cannavaro would be. Again, it's just a risk we can't afford to take. We can't afford to give a manager their break into European football now. We're not in a position to do that. We're simply not. Cannavaro might be great, but he might be atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. And we can't afford to say, we'll give you a chance to get your first big job in a European league in England. We're not in that position. If it was the summer, I wouldn't really agree with it because of his track record, but I'd look and go, well, at least we're not in a relegation battle, but we're in a relegation battle now. It's silly that these names are even being thrown out there. I'm getting really, really fed up with it. I'm getting really fed up of logging onto my phone every day and seeing another name because of their name. Again, as I said, if Fabio Cannavaro wants to sign a contract with Everton, sign him as a fucking centre-half and put him in there and take Michael Keane out. It's as simple as that. Do a fucking better job than Michael Keane can do at the minute, I'll say that. Dave Toffee has become a member of the channel. Thank you very much, Dave. Really, really do appreciate that. It means a massive amount to me. If you're watching, by the way, and you're enjoying, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. Nearly 100 people in here. Again, these late streams have been absolutely fantastic over the last few days or so. So I just want to say thank you all so much. It means a massive, massive amount to me. It really, really does. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well, because that would mean a fantastic amount to me as well, and we're aiming towards 6,000 subscribers, so if you could hit that subscribe button, that'd be brilliant. Let's get into the live comments then, before we talk about some other managerial news. Hernandez says, with Dunk's interview saying he wouldn't be taking the job, does that worry you at all? He didn't quite say he wouldn't be taking the job. He was asked, we're going to read the interview out in a bit, but he was asked basically whether... So I'll read it now actually, because we're on the topic, and we'll read the rest of the interview out later on in the stream. So listen, don't forget to join us. So where are we? He was asked on, this is the exact statement from Everton. Duncan Ferguson on the likely time frame for his tenure following the club statement announcing his upcoming games. Basically asked, are you, what's the situation about, have you just been told you're in charge for the upcoming games, which is what we knew anyway, because that's what the club said. And he said, that is absolutely right. That is my brief. I'll only be in charge for the upcoming games. That's it. We move, and then he also said, the club are in the process of going through the candidates. They will work through the process, and I am sure they will get the best man for the job. Now, I actually think this sounds upfront like Dunk doesn't want the job, or he's ruling himself out. I actually think what it is him saying, as far as what this situation is, I'm only in charge for the coming games. Because that's what it is, isn't it? He's only in charge for the coming games. That's it. In this, if you look at it in almost like a period, this period is the coming games. He's not going to say, yeah, I'm in charge, in the interim I'm getting in as well, because that decision hasn't been made. So if I'm saying that's it means that's what he's being told, that's what this current situation is. That might change. And plus, Dunk is a clever man. He's not stupid. He knows that if he comes out and says, yeah, I desperately want the job, I need the job, or, I love this football club, I of course I'd want it, then... again, maybe that's showing his hand too much. If it doesn't go right on Saturday, then maybe, it's a little bit, hang on, So, again, Dunk wants the job. I'm 100% confident Dunk wants the job, and I'm 100% confident Dunk will have interviewed and Dunk will have put his name in the hat. But I think, out of respect for the club, he's saying that's the situation now. doesn't mean that he's not, you know, he doesn't want the job on a more permanent, temporary basis, whatever you want to call it. It does sound, when you read it, it does sound like he's saying that's it, but again, I don't quite think it is that, if that makes any sense. Goodison Blues says Duncan until the end of the season, he will get us enough points to survive the season. The crowd will get behind him, and if we saw insane and the team looks positive, yeah, spots on. John says, Jesus, Cam, I can't keep up with you lately, but I enjoy all the streams lately. Please keep it up every day. Thank you very much, my mate. We will, we'll try and keep it up as much as we possibly can. Who are we getting in? Cannavaro says, Wormy. Even and all says, GM. Ben says, just keep Dunk for now. For me, yeah, I agree. Evening, everyone. I like the evening ones. Come on, you Blues. It's right, Mozza. Thank you very much. Inky says, hello, Wormy and Gem. Not seen you in ages. Cannavaro, great swordsman and artist. Think he's a bit past it now. Craig says he'd still be our best defender. Yeah. Dunk should give you an interview, Cam. I'd love it, mate. I'd love to sit down with him. Not that Cannavaro, Cam. It is that Cannavaro, is it? He's the World Cup winner, isn't he? Not another one from the Chinese League. The golfer says the name Cannavaro could attract. Excites me. What concerns me is, will he keep us up? Well, yeah, and again, I think that's what Farhad Moshiri's looking at, isn't it? But in a contradicting report, apparently Everton were looking at bringing in Dan Ashworth as a director of football, or a football, you know, executive, or whatever you want to call it. And if that's the case, then it wouldn't really matter the names that Cannavaro could attract, because it'd be down to Dan Ashworth. So if Everton are going with the director of football model, which they have done for the last however many years, and are still wanting to go with that, then manager attracting names does help. But again, you know, Fabio Cannavaro was an unbelievable footballer, but everybody he played with at that time is retired now. And you might say, yeah, well, the players that are playing now would love to play for Fabio Cannavaro, but I don't necessarily think it's a case of, I want to go and play for him. He was an amazing player, because, you know, again, when you're being managed by someone, you want them to be an amazing manager. You want them to be a fantastic person. And you might look at Cannavaro and go, you know, he's not playing with us, is he? It doesn't matter how good of a player he was. If he's not that good of a manager, then what's the point? No, it's George Cannavaro from Bolton, says Wormy. Just keep Dunk now for me, says Ben. Is right. I read that one, didn't we? Inky says Cannavaro also likes zonal distancing. Great. Alex says Dunk thinks he's not ready. Rooney, I don't know about that, mate. I think you might have jumped the gun with that one. But, you know, we'll wait and see. He said, Rooney's doing great at Derby and we'll bite our hands off for the job with Dunk, or get past at the end of the season with the director of football and build a squad, a style of play. Well, you know, and that's why I think if you're looking at somebody like a Potter and Dan Ashworth, that would be brilliant, but it would only happen at the end of the season. So you'd have to bring somebody in on an interim. Would Rooney take it on an interim and leave Derby now? I don't think he would. I think he'd want a bit more of a, you know, a bit of reassurance with the job. Same with probably the likes of Cannavaro, same with probably the likes of Lampard as well. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. 125 people watching. If you could get the likes up, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. Not going down the Cannavaro path, mate. Stevie Lamb, what's happening? He says, no more Italians, for God's sake, stick to someone who knows Everton. I was thinking this before I come on stream. Do you think if we did get Cannavaro, we could maybe adjust the Carlo Ancelotti chance? You know, Fabio, fantastic. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. You know, we could sing that in the Championship, couldn't we? Pardon me. Jem says, why not do a poll and hand it to the board with the results? Cannavaro, Michelangelo, or Marcus. Eric says, I'll be fine with any of the three. Can't be worse than Rafa. The golfer says, couldn't give a shit what the Echo says. I know more than them. OFFS says, Jem. Whammy said, well, I'm voting Marcus. Don't even know how to say that name. USA Toffee says, why is the club putting so much energy into this? Appoint Duncan as manager till the end of the season, slow roll, getting a manager, and use our resources to grab another player or two. Yeah. There you go. Biggest dickers, says Fabrizio Romano, apparently. What a character. What a character. What a film. Goodison Blues says exactly. USA Toffee. Inky says neither was Martinez. Wormy says yeah, but Cammy's impressed the board. Eric says, but I don't think it'd take much to impress our board, to be honest. And Mike says Martinez is the stupidest idea since Benitez. Who the fuck is he doing all this? Yeah, well, yeah. But, you know, it is what it is. Tom asked, what did I have for me tea? I had a McDonald's, mate, because I've just been to play football in Thatto Heath with Ned. and I was starving, and I've literally just got home about half an hour ago, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get a McDonald's. I probably shouldn't have for health reasons, but the stream would have been later had I hadn't. So you need mods in the future, Cam. Yeah, we will get some mods sorted out. We will get some mods sorted out. Anyway, let's get into some more transfer rumours then. Let's get straight into them. Because that's what we're here for, aren't we? We're here to talk about managers. We're not really here to talk about what I had for tea, although I'm happy to sit here and talk about it for a while. As I said before, from JB from The Telegraph, Frank Lampard and Wayne Rooney are also to be interviewed for the role. It is unclear if the shortlist will go beyond Cannavaro, Lampard and Rooney, or whether they will be the only three spoken to. Very, very interesting. Again, yesterday, bear with me 2 seconds. Not yesterday. The days are dragging at the moment. It was today, earlier on this afternoon. Paul Joyce reported that Everton have also made contact with Wayne Rooney's representatives. However, Derby County's administrators expect a formal approach to be made through them. Interesting, Derby not pulling any punches, which is to be expected because of how the situation that they're in at the moment, and how inspirational Wayne Rooney has been. Paul Joyce said Jose Mourinho is being contacted about potentially being the next Everton manager, but he has indicated he is happy at Roma. We talked about that yesterday. Why Everton are approaching Jose Mourinho when we're in a relegation battle is beyond belief, but there you go. And he also said the former Monaco and Bayern Munich manager Niko Kovac is also being considered. And Paul Joyce also said that Everton have started talks with Frank Lampard about potentially appointing him as the next Everton manager. So it seems at the moment that Lampard, Rooney and Cannavaro are the names that are propping up most. Even Dunk, you're not even really seeing Dunk propping up an awful lot. Now that might be because he's within the club and those conversations are, obviously within the walls of USM Finch Farm, so there's no need for it to be out in the press because, again, Dunk is an employee of Everton already. It's very internal, and maybe that's the reason why, those leaks haven't been released, or maybe Dunk just, I don't know, isn't in the conversation, which would be manic for me, but maybe he isn't. Who knows? We we'll have to wait and see. But it seems like other than that, it's very much Wayne Rooney and Frank Lampard dominating a lot of the reports, with the odd name propping up, every now and then. As I said yesterday, it was Mourinho, and I literally said in yesterday's live stream, tomorrow it'll probably be someone else. Lo and behold, fast forward 24 hours, literally Fabio Cannavaro's name's in there as well. The thing that worries me with Cannavaro is the names previously, i.e. the likes of Mourinho and your Martinez, have been shut down fairly quickly. Mourinho saying he doesn't want to leave Roma, Martinez not being allowed to leave Belgium effectively. Cannavaro is out of a job, I believe, and if JB from The Telegraph is to be believed, he's interviewed well, he speaks English, and he's under consideration. The Liverpool Echo were saying he isn't, but again, that could change at any point. So, yeah, again, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that the reason Fabio Cannavaro is being touted, or has had interest from the Everton board, is because Farhad Moshiri loves a big name, and he's a massive name. He's a fantastic player. No other reason. It's not for his managerial record. It's not for his managerial style. It's not for his experience, because he's got no experience in Europe. He's got no experience managing sides that are going through the time that Everton are going through. And he's got no experience managing in the Premier League. So it's not for his experience. You could say, it's for his experience as a manager. But if that's the case, then surely somebody like even if you take Dunk out of it, surely somebody like a Frank Lampard, who's got experience managing in this country and in this league, makes more sense than Fabio Cannavaro. But it seems, as I said, that the reports are largely dominated by Wayne Rooney, Frank Lampard, and then another name that changes every day. And to be fair, Rooney, Lampard, Dunk, I'd be happy with Rooney, and I'd be over the moon with Dunk. I'd be mildly satisfied with Frank Lampard, because I just don't see the attraction with Frank Lampard. I don't necessarily see him working. I get he's a young manager. Done really well at Derby. Done really well for the season at Chelsea as well. Did ship a lot of goals at Chelsea, to be fair. And I don't particularly hold the Chelsea sacking against them, because Chelsea sack anybody. If you turn up at the training ground and you eat the wrong chocolate bar, you're getting sacked. There's even reports that they'll sack Tuchel because of their bad run of form, which is ridiculous considering how good of a manager he is. And if that's the case, wait until Tuchel gets sacked, because that's inevitable, and then go and get him. He wanted the job twice before. So yeah, we'll wait and see. That's the very latest on the managerial stuff at the moment. We are going to talk about an interview that Jordan Pickford has done regarding Duncan Ferguson, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Duncan Ferguson's interview with EvertonFC.com today before we finish up. But in terms of the managerial situation, Wayne Rooney apparently hasn't been formally approached by Everton yet, or Derby haven't been formally approached by Everton. Lampard has apparently had talks with the club, and depending on who you believe, Fabio Cannavaro isn't being considered by Everton to be the new manager, even though he's had preliminary talks, or Fabio Cannavaro has been interviewed for the manager's job and has impressed in his interview. So as I said, it really, really depends who we believe in that situation. But, like I said before, nothing against Fabio Cannavaro, wonderful footballer, and may go on to be a fantastic manager, but unfortunately, he needs a break into Europe. He needs a break into the Europe's top 5 leagues. He needs to break into making a name for himself in this side of the world of football, and Everton can't give him that break at the moment. It would be a monumental risk that, as I said, Everton can't afford to take, and it could go horribly wrong. And then Fabio Cannavaro, being a big name, will get off and go and manage someone else, and Everton will be in the Championship. So, not for me. Not for me. As I said, there is no guarantee that Dunk or Rooney or Lampard would keep us up, but I think Dunk and Rooney knowing the club would be a lot more beneficial. Lampard, again, I'm still not convinced, but I suppose young manager, up-and-coming manager, I understand why people would be interested in him. But Dunk, for me, knows the squad, knows the players, knows tactically what he has to do. In his interview, he speaks about doing it his way. He speaks about telling the players some home truths. And as I said, for me, we would win the majority of the games we've got left to play at Goodison with Dunk in charge, and that would be enough to keep us up. And that's all that, it's sad, isn't it? We're in January, we're in mid-January, and we're looking at the league thinking, just keep us up, and then we can reassess in the summer. It's not even like a get us into Europe, or, because if it was that conversation, then maybe it'd be a bit different with Dunk. Could he do that? Is he capable of doing that? But it's not even that. It's just, is Duncan Ferguson capable of keeping Everton in the Premier League? And I firmly believe that he is. We have got an FA Cup run, which is interesting. Everton's last FA Cup victory come when we were doing poorly in the league, sacked the manager, decided to give the job to a former Everton number 9 in Joe Royle, and we went on to win the FA Cup that season. So, interesting. Everton post-war have never won a trophy without an ex-Everton player in charge of the club. Interesting. But no, listen, again, I think it makes the most sense. But if it was maybe it's unfair saying if it was going to be done, it'd be done by now, because maybe the club are keeping Dunk there, but also looking at other options. But for me, certainly out the names that are cropping up at the minute, Dunk just takes it for me. If we were talking about world-class managers who were on the list as well, if, let's say, a little bit like December 2019, somebody of the ilk and quality of Carlo Ancelotti come along, then I'd go, okay, I understand why the club would go there, instead of giving it to Dunk. But the reality is we're not in that situation. We're talking about, good players who've turned to management and haven't been very good, average managers. So, why not give it to Dunk? Anyway, let's get into the live comments before we talk about Duncan Ferguson's interview ahead of Saturday, and we are going to talk about Jordan Pickford's interview as well. Chivo says, can we not in a relegation battle? We're not at the moment, though, money is a difficult subject. I think we're in a relegation battle. I do. Ultimately, we are, 6 points ahead of the side who are bottom of the league, and we've just lost to a team that are in that relegation battle 2-1 in very comfortable manner. So that puts Everton in the relegation battle, in my opinion. Ray says, surely it has to be Duncan till the end of the season, Cam. If he gets a few decent results in the next 3, surely him till the end of the season. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Eugene says, I think Moshiri will ring up his friend on tomorrow on TalkSport, Jim White. Apparently, they don't do TalkSport on Fridays, Jim White and Simon Jordan, which is interesting. I thought they did, but they don't. Arsenal says, damn Liverpool, hope they lose the final. They gone through, have they? They'll win that. They'll beat Chelsea. They will. It kills me to say it, but they'll win it. We are factually, mate, says Joe. Joe, what's happening, Joe? He says he is the main man. Everton need Lucescu from Dynamo Kiev to stabilise the club. Interesting. Holger says, only positive about Cannavaro is he is a former defender. He could maybe sort our terrible defence out, but it's got to be Duncan for now. Love the man and I trust him. Come on, you Roos. And that, you know, you got a good point, maybe. But that trust that you spoke about with Dunk is really, really important. There's a trust between fans, so all of a sudden fans will feel calmer. There'll be a little bit less anxiety around the football club, which means atmospheres will be better, which means, you know, getting behind the team will be a lot easier. Not saying that fans won't get behind a manager if it isn't Dunk, but there will be a lot more, I think, uncertainty if it isn't Dunk. Whereas there's a lot of sort of, as I said, trust and belief in Duncan Ferguson. Everyone else, no. Ferguson, yes, says Signar, is right. Kevin says the shite 1-2-0. There you go. Wormy says, would be a misguided flop for Eden Hazard than a sweep, though, really, wouldn't it? Wormy says, we were definitely in a relegation battle with 16th, just lost convincingly to a bottom team, sacked the manager, and we have no midfield. If that's not a relegation battle, yeah. Exactly my point, mate. Matty says, I'm surprised Roy Hodgson's not even on the list. Everyone else is, yeah. Sean says, sounds like they're too scared to give the job to Dunk. The authorities are looking after their cushy jobs instead of having to look to up their game to win titles. Yeah, maybe. Alfredo Morales from Rangers, just a suggestion. Interesting. Where are we? Eddie Izzard, more like we're not in a relegation battle, says Swanky. Do people seriously think I'm gonna poll this actually, because I am interested in this. So I'm gonna put a poll in. Are Everton in a relegation battle? Feel free to answer. The answers are yes or no. It's simple. Not maybe, not possibly. The answers are I can't spell. The answers are yes or no, and the poll will be going in the chat in literally the next 10 seconds. So get your votes in on that one. Simple. Do you think Everton are in a relegation battle at the minute? Yes or no? Because I'm really, really interested to hear what some people are saying, because some people are saying no, and that surprises me a little bit. Joe says, I can't watch you make the rumours that we're after huge ass from Frankfurt, good attacking midfielder, exactly what we need, pal. I don't know an awful lot about him, if I'm being honest with you, but we definitely need another midfielder. So again, depending on price and stuff, and would he be able to come into this league and perform, you know, I don't know. But as I said, I can't sit here and say, oh, unbelievable player, because I don't know a lot about him, but I will trust your judgment. Happy New Year banner has to go. It's got to go, blood. Says Chivo. I will get rid of it. I just keep forgetting. A poll says, Wormy. Jack Williams says, just want Everton to do well done till the end of the season, then see what happens. Yeah. I'd rather Dunk than Fabio. Can't be taking big risks, and Fabio hasn't any involvement in Prem football. Too risky. He hasn't any involvement in European football. That's all. In terms of management, obviously, he's got involvement as a player. Kevin Wright for manager, said Alex. I'm sure he'd love that. Kevin says, don't forget Cam Rooney has a contact at Derby. They would have to be compensated if he comes to Everton. Yes, you're right. Priority for me is getting a director of football who should then recruit the manager, get the structure in place first. All arse about face with the board. Yeah, spot on. Even more reason to give it to Dunk, and then work on actually the structure of the football club, because somebody like a Graham Potter or any of the top managers ain't coming to Everton at the moment with this non-existent structure. Whammy says if Jess is still in the team, I think she might be the Guinness World Book of Records. She won't be in the team now. She's not. I think she's out, so she won't be in the team now. Matty says, I'd say we are going to get some more Madness Manager candidates before this is over. If anyone's interested in becoming an admin, by the way, or, you know, whatever you call it, let me know, and we'll get it sorted, just so we can control the chat a bit more while I'm chatting nonsense. Tom says, what did you have for tea? We read that one out. Paul says, Moshiri out for me. Can't run our club like a business and ruin it even more this season. Make or break. Yeah, spot on. You need mods in the future. Camp mods, that's what they're called. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's get into the interviews then. Don't forget to get involved with that poll. 36 people got involved. There's 120 watching. It's a simple one. Are Everton in a relegation battle? Yes or no? Let us know your thoughts. Yeah. Did I say huge ass? Did he get me on it? Oh, he did. Huge ass. Bloody hell, Joe. Bloody hell, Joe. It's a Thursday, mate. It's been a long week. been a long week. Clip that one up and put it all over Twitter. At least I didn't make a tit of myself and say, yeah, great player, works hard, battles, good in midfield, because he doesn't fucking exist. Anyway, let's get into the interviews then, as we've just been done royally by Joe. Firstly, Jordan Pickford had an interview with Everton yesterday. Interestingly enough, don't think any Everton player during Rafa Benitez's tenure had a specific interview about Rafa Benitez, but Duncan Ferguson has been in charge for literally a day, and Jordan Pickford has had an interview. He said, you could see the difference Duncan made last time. He is such a legend of the club. It was a perfect fit and performances were really good. Training has been brilliant. Everyone respects him and he is the ideal person to lead us out on Sunday. The respect for players, the respect the players have for him, we will work our socks off for him and do everything he wants on the pitch. He will make sure we are hard to beat and will want us to get the ball in the box and create opportunities. Now, that's a player, a current Everton player, coming out and talking so openly about the players' respect and the players' feelings towards the manager. Now, if that doesn't suggest that we should seriously consider giving Duncan Ferguson the job, do you know what would be interesting? If Everton went to the current playing squad, and I'm not saying trust the current playing squad, I'm not saying whatever they say goes, but be interesting if Everton went to the current player squad, even some of the senior players in that squad, you know, your seasoned internationals, and said, what do you think on the Dunk situation? What do you think on Dunk? And if every player come out like Jordan has there, we know Dom has before, and said, love him, would work me arse off for him every week, he's great, he knows what to do, he's great, everyone respects him, I'd go, maybe that would make the board's decision a little bit easier. And interestingly enough, if you go to certain members of the club and say, what do you think of Roberto Martinez, I'm sure they'd say, don't bring him anywhere near this club. So, again, being in the job a day, being given the job on an interim, well, a caretaker basis for the day, and you've got first team squad players, seasoned internationals, World Cup semi-finalists, Euro finalists, Euro Golden Glove winner, one of the best goalkeepers in world football, coming out and saying, he's boss, we respect him, we'll work our socks off for him. Again, says a lot for me, says a lot. And then Duncan obviously has had his interview himself. I actually think the club admin wants Duncan as the manager, because they've got an interview with Jordan Pickford, they've done an interview with Duncan himself, they put a number of pictures over Duncan Ferguson and his playing time and his managerial coach. I think there's a lot of people at the club who are rooting for Duncan to be the manager. I think the worrying thing is the people that maybe don't seem too keen on it at the moment are the people that are making the decision. If you're interested, by the way, please hit that like button. Only takes a second if you're interested. If you're new to the channel and you're enjoying, please hit that like button. Only takes a second. It just smash me phone, which is great. And yeah, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. That would mean an absolute massive amount to me as well. Duncan Ferguson then had an interview himself. He was talking about the training sessions and how what the training sessions are looking like in preparation for Chelsea. That was who he managed last time. Villa. He said they are upbeat sessions with hard work and clear and simple messages. I am getting among the players and telling a few home truths because the past has not been good enough, but it's in the past. We move forward. The game is coming and let's get ready for it. He then also, as we mentioned before, about how long he'll be at the club, said, that is absolutely right, this is my brief, I'll only be in charge of the upcoming games. The club are in the process of going through their candidates, they will go through that process and I am sure they will get the best man for the job. He then went on to say, we need everybody in our corner and to make sure we're all together, everybody at Finch Farm, everybody at the stadium and everybody in the city. I feel honoured this club has turned to me again. I've spoken to the owner and the chairman and they have been very supportive and we are all willing for us to get a result on Saturday. The chairman talked about unity and the Everton way and getting our fighting spirit back. He is a very passionate and a great Everton man. We should always be doing our best for the future, shouldn't we? And for some people, I've seen some people on Twitter saying, we just, we love Kevin Wright, is this, that and the other. I've got no doubt that Bill Kenwright doesn't want the best for Everton or isn't an Everton man. I just think sometimes his personal preferences take over from what's best for Everton, and I just don't think he's very good at making decisions. But more importantly, he says we all want what's best We should always be doing our best for Everton, shouldn't we? We're Evertonians. We love our club and fight as hard as we can for it. It is a difficult time. Results have been really poor, to be honest. And he's talked about the Chelsea game. He said it was an electric atmosphere against Chelsea, one of the best I've experienced at Goodison, and I am sure they will be well up for this weekend. We really need them to push us across the line for the whole game. Talking obviously about the game on Saturday. He then spoke about injuries. He was asked about injuries, and he said 1 or 2 problems. Alan's struggling, so he'll be the biggest doubt. So, again, very, very interesting interview, and an interview that I think most Evertonians will have read and sort of just gone, yeah, give Dunk the job now. Oh, bloody hell. Here's Joe clipping that. Let me see what I said before. I didn't make a tit of myself, did I? I've had a nightmare there. I've had an absolute nightmare there, haven't I? Sorry, Joe had just clipped up the thing of me saying huge ass, which was great. Anyway, don't forget to get your votes in before we finish up. Live comments: are Everton in a relegation battle? Yes or no? We'll be finishing that poll up in a moment. If you are enjoying, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. That'll be absolutely fantastic. Is there an Everton Discord channel? I don't think so. Toffee TV, I've got a Discord if you become a patron. Says jobbers to do. Are you watching Duncan Ferguson's press conference? I certainly am, mate. Mango says Dunk for the rest of the season unless he loses 4 out the next 5, then use the time to get a director of football and quality structure in place. The director of football then chooses the manager. Yeah, but again, hi Calm, Everton have to win on Saturday, says Tuesday, spots on. You get to and a prime Ericsson running down the wing. Hernandez says Anachibi come out and publicly said he thought the Martinez rumour was a joke. Exactly, and he played under Roberto Martinez, and he was an attacker under Roberto Martinez. Imagine what the defenders would have to say about him. Roberto Martinez, I think, went on record of calling defending set pieces parasite football and saying, why would we need to defend set pieces when you only concede 2 or 3 of them in a game? Is that really what Everton need at the moment? Good idea to get a Discord set up, says Joe. Yeah, I might look at doing that. Kevin says, Ken Wright is a local boy, made good, but local boys don't make good chairmans. Yeah. You're right there. You're spot on. Naughty boy, says Kevin. I know, bend over, mate. You're not getting me with that one. Kevin says you don't have to be in the bottom 3 to be in a relegation battle. We need to win every game. Dogs of war. Spot on. Cannavaro will never ever be backed by me. Never another shite pathetic appointment from us if it happens, says Everton FL. Interesting. So if we smash Villa, you'll say we're not in a relegation battle. No, if we beat Villa, we're still in a relegation battle. If we win 4 or 5 games, 6 games, then I'll say we're not in a relegation battle. But even if we beat Villa, depending on results around us, we're very much still in that. It's not the Villa game isn't the be all and end all. We just need to win. What about Van der Beek, says Lone Wolf? I just don't think he's good enough for this league, if I'm being honest. Steamroller says I generally have complete faith we'll stay up. Maybe I'm too naive to be an Evertonian. Well, let's hope so. We're in a relegation battle, but I reckon we need 5 wins or 4, basically. Yeah, we're not out of sight. Don't get me wrong. We're still very much within the realms of staying up, but that doesn't mean we're not in a relegation battle, does it? Chivo says, can I please have a score prediction? It'll be on the preview tomorrow, mate. It'll be on the game preview tomorrow. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it up there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. As I said, we will be live tomorrow, but it won't be a late one, unfortunately, because I've got some bits to sort out. We'll be live around about 4:15, 4:30 with the game preview. Let's finish up the poll then now, and we'll get the results just before we finish. We'll be live with the game preview to Everton's upcoming Premier League fixture against Aston Villa, so don't forget to join us for that one if you are interested. Once again, a massive thank you to everybody for watching and leaving a like on the stream. I really do appreciate it. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. If you watched this YouTube video and you've enjoyed, please do let me know your thoughts in the comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can. There you go. The poll results are in. 59 votes. 88% of people believe Everton in a relegation battle. So tells you a lot. Kevin says, doing a good job again, Cam. You do great at this. Thank you very much, my mate. Eugene says, see about the Toffees is right. Philip says, up the Toffees is right. And Matty says, if you're in the bottom 6 in a relegation battle. There you go. Anyway, massive thank you to everybody for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. We'll be back tomorrow. Joe says up the Toffees, Cam, good steam. Thank you very much, my mate. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.